just kind of a two-person game.
Indiana came away with a 114-106 overtime victory over Chicago, but the post-game interviews told a story that extended well beyond the final score. Caitlin Clark, measured and composed in front of the media, delivered commentary sharp enough to draw blood without raising her voice once. When asked about the game's rhythm, Clark noted that every time the Fever had someone put away, the challenge was keeping it that way. She said it plainly, without elaboration. Aaliyah Boston was standing nearby and visibly reacted to the remark. Clark was not speaking abstractly. This was the third consecutive game in which Indiana built a double-digit lead and surrendered it before, eventually recovering. A 19-point advantage against Chicago, a team widely expected to be well below the Fever's level, was nearly gone by the end of the third quarter on the technical fouls she and Stephanie White both received during the third quarter. Clark's response carried its own subtext.
A two-person game. Fourth quarter and overtime. What was working, either one of you, from that action tonight?
I think just the attention that C gets coming off the ball screen. I mean, obviously she didn't make the right pass, so they were kind of up, and then C did a great job just hitting me, and then vice versa. If they dropped back, I mean, she made the right play, got to the basket, and hit tough shots.
Yeah, I mean, I think really anytime we got a stop and we're able to push in transition, we got like really good stuff, especially out of our ball screen stuff, and I feel like we can get to a lot more of that too. But like I said, like the reason they got back.
She said she was glad to see White get one, then added that after it happened, she got to the free throw line more frequently, and things started to shift. The implication was clear. The officiating had not been going Indiana's way before that moment, and White had not been vocal enough about it. Clark's version of support for her coach came packaged with a pointed observation. Clark and Boston made history in this game, becoming the first pair of teammates in WNBA history to each record 30-point double-doubles in the same contest. Clark finished with 32 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists. Boston posted a career-high 34 points. In overtime, the two operated almost exclusively as a two-player unit. Clark drawing attention off ball screens and finding Boston cutting or absorbing the defense and finishing at the basket herself when defenders dropped. The pick-and-roll chemistry between them has reached a level where adjustments are happening in real time without verbal communication.
The reason they got back in the game was because we fouled and then we couldn't play in transition. So we got to continue to limit that, and obviously the made baskets too. It's really hard to play in transition there, but I think the more two-man action we can get, the better, and obviously it was working really well tonight.
Caitlin, you and Aaliyah became first teammates in W history to have 30-point double-doubles in the same game.
Oh,
pretty impressive stuff. Obviously, you probably want to win in maybe different fashion. I don't know, but what did it take to win, and what does it?
Clark also extended several of her own WNBA records with the performance. She now holds the record for most 30-point, 10-assist games in league history with 3, with the next closest player at 1. Her record for 25-point, 10-assist games moved to 8, ahead of Sabrina Ionescu's 5. And her record for 20-point, 10-assist games reached 13, clear of Lindsay Whalen's previous mark of 10. All of this is happening in her third professional season. Maisha Hines-Allen was a significant factor off the bench, finishing with a plus 25 in her time on the floor. A block she delivered late in the game became a moment in itself. She had apparently been told by Stephanie White that the team lacked shot-blocking ability, which added a layer of motivation to her defense.
You probably want to win in maybe different fashion. I don't know, but what did it take to win, and what does it say about the chemistry you two have together?
Hey, a win's a win, so we'll take it, and as long as you get out of here with that and it was really interesting. Like, it was a game of, like, obviously basketball's a game of runs, but I felt like it was a game of, like, extreme runs. Like, it was like we were down 6, then we were up 6, then they were up 6. So, like, that's a 12-point turn. And I felt like that was consistently happening. So, I think for us, like, still the areas for us to grow are, you know, once we have somebody, like, put away, like, keep it that way. And obviously,
Did Caitlin Clark?
White acknowledged after the game that she did not know Hines Allen could jump like that. White's post-game remarks addressed the recurring lead collapse problem directly. She identified turnovers leading to transition scores, defensive coverage breakdowns resulting in open threes, and early rotations, drawing unnecessary foul-fuls as the consistent thread across all 3 games. She was careful not to call it a focus issue, describing it instead as a drop in urgency. The team relaxes with a lead, and in a league where every possession matters, that is enough for a run to begin. On Skylar Diggins-Smith's three-pointer, late in regulation that forced overtime, White admitted, the staff who had discussed fouling before she started her shooting motion, but chose not to act on it in the moment. She acknowledged it as an area requiring better preparation and cleaner execution under pressure. Sydney Taylor, Chicago's rookie reserve, once again caused significant damage, putting up 25 points on 9 of 13 shooting in 16 Matisse, with multiple three-pointers made.
Did Caitlin Clark just call out her team? Caitlin Clark says, whenever we got somebody put away, let's keep it that way. Look, Caitlin's talking. She's sick of it. She's sick of it. Caitlin said, when we got some, look at how Leah Boston looking at her. Look at how Leah Boston looking at her. Caitlin, oh my God, I can't believe you just threw the whole team under the bus. Oh, you damn Skippy. I'm throwing everybody under the bus. This was ridiculous. This was disgusting.
White noted that Taylor is capable of getting hot quickly, that the staff had seen it on film, and that she is a difficult matchup because of her ability to score off the dribble and from outside. The acknowledgement that the Fever had advanced notice of Taylor's capabilities and still allowed it to happen raises questions about in-game defensive adjustments. The Fever's team stats reflected the night's inconsistency. 47% shooting overall, 27% from 3, 16 turnovers, but 29 points off, Chicago turnovers, 58-48 advantage in the paint, and 19 second chance points. Kelsey Mitchell contributed a quiet 19 points. Lexi Hull added 7 rebounds. The team outscored Chicago 58-48 in the paint, which provided the margin that ultimately held in overtime. The win keeps Indiana moving forward.
Sky, there's no way you could convince me before this game we would have thought the Fever would have went overtime with the Sky. I don't think one person in this chat would have believed before this game that we would have went overtime with the Sky. Damn right, Caitlin. Call out everybody. Call out the whole damn team. I'm sorry.
late game execution needs to be better. I think we can, just
The pattern that almost prevented it remains
be better. I think we can, just obviously take care of the ball a little bit better and, execute a little bit better down the stretch. But also, like, this is tough shots Skylar made, and they made free throws down the stretch that they never gave up. But yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, for either of you, this is the third straight game you've had that double-digit lead in the second quarter or third quarter, then lost it kind of in that way. Just what similarities do you see between these 3 games and losing the lead like that? And
That version of Mitchell worked cleanly alongside Clark and Boston because it left the ball in Clark's hands and kept spacing intact. By 2025, that role had nearly vanished. Mitchell's off-ball activity dropped dramatically. Shot creation from isolation became the dominant pattern. The cuts stopped happening at any meaningful rate. The result is 2 players, Clark and Mitchell, essentially competing for the same resource. Clark's offense runs through the pick and roll with Boston, requires ball-dominant reps, and generates opportunities for everyone around her.
And what can you do to just stop that from happening?
Yeah, I mean, most of it's on us. Like, we just have to make sure that we're taking care of the ball. I think in some of those stretches where teams go on run, we turn the ball over 2 out of 3 possessions in a row, and then we're not getting stopped. So for us, it's about sometimes maybe slowing ourselves down a little bit, making sure that we get a quality shot, and then locking down on defense. I think Chicago got out some transition buckets, got downhill a little bit, hit the pocket, and we weren't able to recover. So for us, it's just about taking care of the ball and then making sure that we're executing.
Leah, that's a career high for you. Most shots you've taken in a game, too. What was it about the way you were being?
When Clark has the ball, the offense breathes. Mitchell's preferred mode now is to be the initiator rather than the finisher, and those two approaches do not share space comfortably. The on-off data from the most recent game makes this concrete. In minutes where Clark was on the floor without Diana Dantas, Clark was plus 21. Mitchell, across the game, was -2. The Clark-Boston two-man game, when given room to operate, essentially dismantled the defense. Boston's production this season is deeply tied to Clark's playmaking. Clark averaged 4 assists per game to Boston last season, a number that dropped below 2 earlier this year when the pick and roll was being deprioritized.
Like, she has the ability to be off the ball. She has the ability to be one of the best cutters in the league. She can be one of the best off-ball runners in the league. However, that was how she played in 2024. When we got into the 2025 season, start out the year, she struggled a bit. We all joke about May Kelsey Mitchell versus June Kelsey Mitchell. And then, even this year, or last, and then when Kate went down, Kelsey Mitchell became a on-the-ball player, exclusively on-the-ball player.
When it came back, the results were immediate. The spacing diagram that made the 2024 offense functions is also worth understanding. In that system, the high Clark-Boston pick and roll cleared one side of the floor entirely. Mitchell sat in the corner with room to spot up or curl off a secondary action. Lexi Hull occupied the opposite wing. The structure gave Clark a decision tree: attack the basket, hit Boston rolling, or skip to the corner where Mitchell or Hull were ready. Mitchell's weak side gravity was real because she was positioned to use it.
Kelsey cutting was very rare. Kelsey's shot creating reps were higher than ever. Kelsey's off the ball reps were unbelievably down. Like, her off the ball reps were barely a thing anymore. And we've got to be honest, with those off the ball reps going to nearly zero, you've now got 2 players fighting for the basketball in Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. And yes,
The current system has changed that structure. Mitchell is now frequently involved in the initial screen action, rather than stationed on the weak side. She sets the first screen, Aliyah comes in to set the second, and Mitchell effectively runs herself out of the play. The weak side option disappears. The floor becomes crowded on Clark's side, and the spacing that made everything easy in 2024 is gone. What makes this genuinely complicated is that Mitchell is capable of playing the right way. The cuts, the catch and shoot, the backdoor reads, those are real skills she has demonstrated.
Basketball in Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. And yesterday's game, it felt like the first quarter was all Caitlin Clark and Leah Boston. Or at least the first bit of the first quarter. And it just felt like we're trying to get Kelsey involved. We're trying to get Kelsey some touches. I'm like, that is one of those things where I'm like, this is one of those games where you don't need to get Kelsey going. And like, you don't need to get Caitlin going.
The argument is not that she cannot do it. The argument is that she does not want to. Every piece of individual success in her career, the all-Wunba recognition, the playoff performances, the big scoring nights, has come from Mitchell as the primary option, running isolation, creating her own shot. That is the player she wants to be. The ball tends to stop moving when it reaches her. Possessions compress, and the decision-making window narrows to a few seconds. Candace Parker made a point recently that Clark is at her best when she has the ball. That is not a controversial observation. It is something the production numbers confirm.
For me, when it comes to the Indiana Fever, you basically have to run around Caitlin Clark. Like, you give the ball to Caitlin Clark and she'll get other people free. Like, that's one of those things we know. We know Caitlin is there to get people free. That being said, there is a big problem, and it's not that Kelsey Mitchell can't play with Caitlin Clark and Leah Boston. I don't think Kelsey Mitchell wants to. Like, that is the big difference, is that
when Clark is operating off the ball, she becomes a significantly less impactful player. Developing that skill over her career is a reasonable long-term goal, but forcing her into off-ball reps now, in a configuration that does not require it, is actively hurting the team. The Fever are 7-5, but needed overtime and a Clark game winner to avoid dropping to 5-7 against two of the weakest teams in the league while holding leads of 17 and 19 points. The foundation under those wins is fragile. The honest version of this situation is that Clark and Mitchell want the same offensive real estate, and there is not enough to split. If the organization believes the path forward runs through the Clark-Boston pick and roll as the primary engine, and the on-court evidence strongly supports that, then Mitchell's role needs to be redefined in a way she has shown little interest in accepting. Whether that gets resolved through a change in Mitchell's approach move is the question the front office will eventually have to answer directly.
Mitchell wants to. Like, that is the big difference, is that because we know that Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark are, when they run the pick and roll, they are absolutely ball dominant. They are really ball dominant, and the only looks Kelsey Mitchell is going to get are backdoor cuts and catch and shoot and late shot clock drives. I still think she can average 20 a game doing that. Problem is that when it comes to Kelsey Mitchell, she can either commit to being the third option, or she can fight it and be the fourth up, try to be the first option. And it feels like she's trying to fight against Caitlin Clark to be the first option. That's just what it feels like. And I've said this plenty of times. This is not like, you can make the same argument and say the Indiana Fever have a Caitlin Clark problem. You can make that same argument. If you believe that running through Kelsey Mitchell and playing chaos, not even chaos ball, just like unstructured ball, and we're going to go ISO ball, and we're going to drag teams down and make this a case of, if we hit more tough shots, we're going to win. Then yeah, Kelsey Mitchell, you keep Kelsey Mitchell. And I was listening to No Capsule yesterday, and they were like, Stephanie White is really good at coaching the 2023 Connecticut Sun. And when Caitlin Clark went down, yesterday, and they were like, Stephanie White is really good at coaching the 2023 Connecticut Sun. And when Caitlin Clark went down, they were basically 2023 Sun. And I've said that plenty of times. She's good at getting a team that has no expectations to punch above their weight. And if that is the team the Indiana Fever want to be, if that's the team the Indiana Fever think that they can be, we have to look at this argument in a completely different way and say the Indiana Fever have a Caitlin Clark problem. The problem is that Kelsey Mitchell, the way Kelsey Mitchell wants to score, the way she wants to score, the way she wants to play, and there's no question that Kelsey Mitchell has an ability to play a different